Good afternoon. I'm here in front of the San Francisco Federal Building. I'm talking to none other than the attorney who has now filed the TAG lawsuit, and we're going to learn more about that. Could you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, my name is Dean Royer. I'm a senior litigation attorney with Zito Wong Law.
We just went through the press conference. I heard you kind of spelling out the game plan here, and you referenced the Constitution and the Ninth Amendment and the Leahy laws, right? So, for people who are totally unaware of those things, can you, I know this is a big ask maybe, but can you nutshell that for us and kind of just brief people who don't understand what is illegal about what the congressmen are doing?
Yes, so the Ninth Amendment we selected because that says that the rights that are laid out in the other amendments, the Bill of Rights, that's not the extent of it. The people retain other rights that are not specifically described in the other amendments to the Constitution.
Okay.
And the courts have allowed people to come to court based on the Ninth Amendment in conjunction with some other constitutional right that you can present. So that's what we're doing here. We're saying one part is the Ninth Amendment, which leaves the door open, if you will.
Yeah.
Rights are retained by the people in conjunction with the Constitution, specifically in very short form, but does state how Congress can tax the people and spend that money. And the language that is used is for the general welfare. And we are confident that the court will be persuaded that when tax money is collected and then allocated for illegal purposes, that cannot possibly be for the general welfare.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the illegal purposes that we've identified are several. So one is the United Nations Convention Against Genocide, to which the United States is a signatory, and has also incorporated that law into the federal laws. So there is a federal statute, law, that says genocide is against the law, including complicity in genocide. So not just directly carrying out genocidal acts, but being complicit in. And that's what we're saying here. The taxes that are being used to pay for all of the military assistance to Israel, and then Israel carries out the genocide. That's the complicity we're talking about. So that's a violation of international and federal law.
Okay.
And then there is the Leahy law that you mentioned.
Right.
And there is also...
Checking notes.
There's so many here.
Yeah.
The Foreign Assistance Act of 1961.
Okay.
The Arms Export Control Act, and the Conventional Arms Transfer Policy.
Yeah.
These are all federal laws. The last one is a federal policy.
Okay.
And essentially all of them say that the U.S. Cannot fund governments or military forces that are violating human rights. And so again, this is what we're saying in this case, that is exactly what's happening here.
Okay. And so I am aware that there's been some effort to gather elements of evidence, shall we say, bits and pieces of testimony from class members. Can you speak a little bit to that, or is that off the record for now?
Yes, no, great question. That is an effort still in progress, and so we would prefer not to disclose the details yet. But I can say that, what we did this morning was just the first step in this case,
Okay.
and that coming forward, we are looking forward to presenting evidence to the court to prove this case, and that will involve what you just spoke to.
Okay.
And so you're going to have very detailed, extensive evidence, we anticipate, coming from all of the class representatives and others to demonstrate what we're saying here, that rights have been violated,
Yeah.
people have been harmed as a result, and we need the court to step in and do something about it.
Okay. And then in regard to the strength of the class and the diversity of the class, can you speak to that, and does it matter that it's a diverse class of people?
We think it matters in the sense that this is significant, and the court needs to pay attention to this. We do not want this to be just simply brushed aside as just, say, a single person saying this is wrong. We have 21 class representatives who are specifically named in the case.
Okay.
They are the public face, if you will, of this case, but they represent 500 and growing number of people who have specifically joined onto this case and have said, this is not okay with me. My tax dollars being used to fund this genocide. So it's strength in numbers, right? So that this is a large number of people saying enough is enough. Something needs to be done about this.
Do you, maybe this is out of bounds for now, but do you have to prove any level of intent or awareness on the part of congressmen in the way that they spent those tax dollars?
That is an element that the Congress members were aware, or should have been aware, that the genocide was ongoing, that human rights violations were ongoing prior to making that vote on April 20, 2024. And we have laid that out in the case, what was filed today, that there were numerous sources of information that they knew or should have known about. There was the International Court of Justice decision finding that it was plausible that genocide was already occurring at that time in January of this year. In fact, this court, a prior case that unfortunately was dismissed at an early stage, but the judge did specifically say that it was plausible that genocide was occurring in Gaza. And again, that was in January of 2024.
That's right, I recall that now. And that case was dismissed on the basis of jurisdiction, is that right?
Yes, that essentially the court said, unfortunately, I, as a judge, we as a court cannot do anything for you here because this is for Congress to determine. This is foreign policy that you're asking us to wade into.
But the mention of genocide was not disputed.
Correct, and I think it was notable that the court did. I mean, that was not something the court needed to say as part of that decision on that foreign policy question. I think it was notable that the court decided to include that.
So anything to add? I don't want to keep you too long.
Just the last thing, again, as I mentioned earlier in the press conference, I am honored to be the lawyer for this class. They are the ones driving this forward. I am simply translating the information into hopefully a language the court will understand and to ultimately prevail.
So how long have you been doing this?
I have been a lawyer for 20 years. My focus has been on plaintiffs, employee, worker litigation, and more generally human rights and civil rights work. And
So you do have a background in this area?
Generally speaking, in terms of human and civil rights,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, it's wonderful to talk with you. Thank you for enlightening us a little bit about those details, and we'll keep on it. We'll see how this turns out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm exhausted. Last night I couldn't sleep, but when I did, I could hear bombs in my dreams. Nightmare situation. How could they be so evil, making martyrs out of children and innocent people? We expect the bombs, not knowing where next. Huddle in the corner of my room, trying to protect my little brother.